You have clicked on this video to learn how to write a song like Ghost. I'm about to show you the results that I got, but please be aware that everything you hear is based off an idea I pulled directly from Ghost's current top 10 songs on Spotify. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact process that I used to create this. Let's start by looking at the overarching concepts that will influence our decisions. Stylistically, Ghost to me sounds like it's pretty rooted in glam metal. They often explore other genres, which helps with their theatrical image, but I feel like these explorations to other genres comes from a glam metal place. This puts us into a pretty specific musical space, which gives us a few options for tonal, melodic, and harmonic choices that we will get to in a minute. Lyrically, they obviously focus on religious and supernatural themes. Deeper than that, I actually think it boils down to brushing up against something that is way more powerful than yourself that you have no control over. You are essentially a bystander or witness to whatever that thing wants to do. These overarching themes are not complicated, but they are important to understand. As silly as it may seem, mentioning glam metal or supernatural themes puts us into a certain frame of mind. We can easily judge if our song sounds glam or not, but if we don't create the connection to the genre from the start, then we could end up with a song that by rights should sound like Ghost, but for some reason doesn't. The tonal options that we're working with for the band are big rock drums, a heavily distorted bass, and distorted guitars. Not full metal distortion, but definitely have a lot of gain. Ghost often also use an electric piano, which shifts its tone for the song or section that it's needed in. Most of the songs that I listened to were in the key of either D or G sharp, or within a semitone or two of those. The specific scale or mode that Ghost use is a lot less easy to define because they freely move between these minor modes and actually also have a few notable chromatic ideas in them. Regardless if you choose the minor pentatonic, the blues, the Dorian, the Phrygian, the Locrian, or the natural harmonic or melodic minors, all you need to keep in mind is that whatever you write should have a minor sound to it. Use the minor scale as a guide, but if you need to step outside of that to make your idea better, do it. Vocally, Tobias, or whichever pseudonym you prefer, doesn't actually have a massive vocal range. Most of his melodies sit somewhere around a D4. He can get up to an A4 in his belt range, but these notes are mostly reserved for the climaxes of the song. If the song is in D, it means that the melody is going to be based around the root note of the scale. If the key is G sharp or similar, then the melody is going to be based around the 4th or 5th scale degree. These are not hard and fast rules either, it's just what I found to be common. And this is pretty much all we need to know to write a song. To recap, glam rock, minor mode, a key around D or G sharp, and a melody based around the note D. So let's write a song. As I'm a guitarist, the first thing I did, which is what I usually do, is write a riff. I chose to write in D minor because my voice is actually deeper than Tobias's, and I felt like if I chose this key, I would have more options. Is this accurate though? Probably not. If I started in G sharp, I would have different options to work with. It's most likely that I chose D minor and put my guitar into drop D because that's pretty common for me to do. And thinking about it, I can't think of any songs that I've written in G sharp, but that's enough analyzing my decisions. In the riff that we write, we want something that moves through chords, as in it's not just chugging on the open string the whole time. Like glam metal, Ghost usually write chord progressions under their vocals. After this, I wanted a really simple rock drum groove and, of course, bass. Next, of course, the vocals. Being glam metal, you're not going to get very far without some backing vocals. So I chose to make the main vocal melody very short so that I could have a call and response between the lead and the backings. As mentioned as well, the melody is based around the note D. My process to make the vocal melody is to loop the musical section over and over and just record every noise that I make in. Eventually a melody is going to present itself even if I have to Frankenstein together a whole bunch of different ideas. For the lyrics, I just watched a video about the French Revolution. It gave me some creative ideas, so I chose the lyrical concept to be about a person telling their partner that yes, they can go be part of the revolution, they can stand for it, they can do whatever they want, but don't necessarily put yourself in harm's way for that. It's not esoteric or religious, but a movement like the French Revolution will have a religious effect on an individual. I tied it all together with some musical hits on specific lyrics to emphasize the vocals. Here is my verse.
Let them light the fuse, run away with me,
So we've got a basic rock backing track with a short vocal melody that has call and response elements to it. The lyrics are about a power greater than you with emphasis from the band to support the vocals. For the chorus, we want some type of climax. For drums, I feel like Ghost have two main options. Option number one is the main rock groove. The other is a big epic drum idea that we hear in all of these songs. I've done a simple rock beat for the verse, so it's time for the big epic drum idea. There are a couple of things that go into this. I chose to change the groove to something with a dotted rhythm. This dotted rhythm groove does not change the tempo or the beat, it only changes the emphasis within the bar. Because the verse was so consistently hitting on the eighth notes, this provides us with way more space to kind of play around and see how we can build up the energy to something that feels climactic. Pay attention to the snare, because it's not on the 2 and the 4 like a normal rock beat, it now emphasizes this dotted rhythm pattern. And this is important because, once again, it gives us extra space for the other instruments and the vocals to fill in to make a big climax. For that reason, I wrote a guitar riff that went up to higher notes than what we'd heard before, but I also chose to allow that space, so it follows the exact rhythm of the drums. The bass, of course, then followed the guitar. I did add a little guitar in the background just to fill in some more frequencies. It's not necessarily supposed to be noticed. For vocals, I wanted a few things. Generally, melodies climax on big, high held notes. Whilst my chorus doesn't go to a higher pitch than in my verse, it does hold on to those higher notes for longer. But also, the guitars are going up in pitch as well. So even though I'm not necessarily hitting a higher note in my vocals, overall, it feels like the music is lifting. To make this chorus melody climax more, I chose to sing it aggressively, and I also doubled it. I also layered in a whole bunch of backing vocals.
And there's a monitor on the window. Monitor on the window. And there's a monitor on the window.
Before we listen to the chorus, there is one more little piece of information. I felt that when it rolled straight from the verse into the chorus that it lacked something. So what I did is put in an extra bar. Essentially, all this bar does is repeat what's in the previous bar, but with a little bit more energy. So the snare, instead of just being on the 2 and the 4, goes to the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the guitar riff moves up a little bit, bridging the gap between the verse and the chorus. Let's listen to everything together.
Take my heart with you. And there's a monitor on the window. Monitor on the window.
As you can see, all those elements together create something that feels like a climax. And finally, we're at the riff. Loads of Ghost songs have a notable riff. Whilst I think my riff is only okay, it clearly demonstrates what Ghost actually does. There's usually no singing in these parts as well, which means that we can actually afford to be a bit more experimental with how we treat the section. And fortunately for you, this process is actually really simple. There's 3 steps to creating a riff like this. First is to create a chord progression, second is to arpeggiate those chords, and third is to make a melody out of these arpeggios. To put that into practice, here's the chord progression. Here's the arpeggios. And then from that we create the melody. The first cycle I did pretty much solo with some musical stabs for impact, and then the band came in. For whatever reason, I decided to change the drum groove yet again to something that feels more complicated. The fact that we're not singing through this part means that we can afford to do some of these kind of less typical things with our music. For the bass, I decided that I wanted it to do its own thing. Ghost often have the bass actually doing something interesting, and so far, all I've done with the bass is follow the guitars. So I wrote a melody in the bass that complemented what the guitar line was doing. And here is the riff. And that's pretty much it. If you've tried to follow these steps and couldn't come up with something, then either leave a comment or reach out to me. This stuff is actually quite simple, but most people overthink it. And finally, here is the track in its entirety. I'll see you soon.
Screaming out for you to turn back around. Let them light the